Hi everyone, and welcome back to Litigation Corner. I'm your host, John Martino, the Director of Litigation at Community Legal Services, and I'm coming to you today to continue celebrating the 60th anniversary of Community Legal Services. Today we will be exploring Florida's vibrant center, Osceola County. Osceola County, named after the renowned Seminole leader Osceola, is known for its rich history and natural beauty. The county also has deep-rooted history in cattle ranching, which continues to shape its identity today. It is home to cities like Kissimmee and St. Cloud, as well as smaller communities like Narcoossee and Kenansville, all reflecting the early settlement and agricultural heritage. Today, the county serves as a gateway to tourism thanks to its proximity to Walt Disney World and other Orlando area attractions. Nature lovers can explore the Kissimmee River, offering opportunities for boating, fishing, and birdwatching. The Osceola County Historical Society preserves the history of Osceola County through its attractions like Pioneer Village at Shingle Creek. Osceola County is experiencing rapid growth right now. Its population was expected to reach over 400,000 in 2025, reflecting a 3.36% increase over the past year. As the county continues to expand, the demand for legal assistance in areas such as housing, family, and other civil matters is likely to increase. One area of the law that Central Floridians really need help with is divorce and family law cases, particularly those involving children. At Community Legal Services, we have a family law unit, and within that unit, a team of attorneys that focus on divorce and paternity cases involving children. Our team will guide our clients through the difficulties of family separation and ensure that the client and their children have a safer outlook in the future. There are two main types of cases that our family team handles: dissolution of marriage cases and paternity cases. In both cases, the children of these relationships are often the most important and most contentious part of these cases. This is particularly true since most of our clients are survivors of domestic violence, and in many cases are still under threat of violence when we meet them. Generally, the courts will look to protect the children in such cases and strongly caution the parents against discussing adult topics with those children. But not every parent listens, and it can make these cases more difficult. Aurea Burgos is the supervising attorney of the family law team. I recently sat down with Aurea in Osceola County and discussed these difficulties, as well as the rewarding nature of our work. I hope you enjoy this latest edition of Direct Examination. Aurea Burgos, thank you for joining me today in Osceola County.
Thank you for inviting me.
So we do these interviews to get to learn about the people that we work with, learn about the practice area and the good work that you've been doing for Community Legal Services. So first, just to get to know you a little bit better, where did you grow up?
So I was born in Puerto Rico, and I was there until like maybe 12 years old, and then I moved to Georgia, and a great deal of my growing years was done in Georgia. Then I moved to Florida, and I've been here ever since. I think I've been here about maybe 21 years, something like that. So, yes.
So growing up, what did you want to do? Like, what was the first thing you envisioned that you wanted to do when you grew up?
I actually wanted to be a choral director. That's what I wanted to be. I wanted to do music. That's my passion, really. But life had other plans, and after doing work in human resources and just getting a marketing degree, I decided to go to law school for my own personal reasons, and here I am, you know.
I feel like we gotta live out that dream at one of the staff retreat talent shows in the coming years.
You know what? If I had the karaoke, I would think I would be more willing to do that than actually do like a competition, if you will.
I feel like the family law unit, though, should have to be your glee club, and you need to direct them.
I guess. Megan said, why don't you, we probably have to subpoena you. You have to subpoena you to sing. And I'm like, well, we'll see.
Growing up in both Puerto Rico and Georgia, did you have any heroes, any people that you aspire to be like?
I mean, if we're talking about childhood heroes, I can't say that I had any, but that probably has to do with the unorthodox life that I had. And of course, I'm not going to go into that, but I did have a very unorthodox life. I mean, I lived in different environments. I even lived in a rainforest. So I was more preoccupied, I guess, with being a child and trying to grow up in very odd circumstances than as an adult, though. It wasn't until later on, like a lot later on in life, that I actually started to become more aware of who I wanted to be and the type of people that I wanted to follow. As far as the law is concerned, I would say definitely Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Not only because she's a woman, but because of everything that she fought for and her sense of justice.
When did you decide to become a lawyer?
After I divorced my ex-husband, I had to make some decisions. I was a single mom with 2 daughters, and I needed to make it on my own. What happened to me legally and also personally shaped the idea that I wanted to perhaps change or affect some sort of change in people's lives, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we all have moments of adversity that come into our lives, and you have to make decisions. And fortunately, you made a decision to help people. So how long have you been with CLS?
Okay, so I've been with CLS a total of 5 years, but that was interrupted by certain decisions that I had to make in my life, and I had to leave. And then I came back. In 2024, April of 2024.
And why did you decide to come back?
Because I never wanted to leave.
So Community Legal Services Family Law Unit, which you're part of, recently we kind of divided it into 2 specific teams. We have an injunction team that focuses on domestic violence injunctions, and we have a family law team which focuses on family law cases. Mm-hmm. You lead our family law team. So can you explain what kind of cases your team actually handles?
Ideally, we're going to be taking dissolution of marriage cases and paternity cases for the most part. Of course, as you know, we work through grants, so we do have certain restrictions for our attorneys, the type of work that they do. That doesn't mean that we cannot take other cases like post-judgment cases or modifications. Those 2 areas will be the areas that will be primarily focused on.
So how do we decide which cases we take?
Well, because like I said, the grant that we work under, which is the VOCA grant, they do have those restrictions, and so we do want to prioritize cases where there is a component of domestic violence present. And of course, when there's children, we want to prioritize that. When the other party perhaps is represented and the victim is actually not represented with children and having the burden of taking care of the household, those are the types of cases that we want to prioritize initially.
So when representing people who are survivors of domestic violence and family law cases, how does doing that work differ both emotionally and professionally from other areas of the law?
I mean, emotionally definitely has an impact. I don't think that family law is for everybody. In fact, I've heard of a lot of attorneys that say, I can't do family law. There's no way I can. I mean, this is people that used to love each other, and now all of a sudden they're faced with the prospect of having to deal with this separation with children. And then on top of that, for the type of work that we do, we are also dealing with the domestic violence component.
When we do meet with our clients, right, our survivors of domestic violence, and they've either are still dealing with those issues or have just recently been through those issues, what is the challenge of meeting them where they are and actually taking them through the facts and learning about the issues that are affecting them?
The biggest challenge, I think, is first getting them to a position that they're willing to listen. Or not so much willingness, but to be able to have that capability of listening, because it's not that they're not willing, it's just that sometimes the stress of what they're going through hinders their ability to listen. And necessarily have to gain that comprehension, because otherwise you're doing them a disservice. That first initial contact, I think it can be very challenging. And that's just the contact. Then comes everything else that is required of them as part of the divorce, which that also has its challenges.
Yeah, and when they're going through what they're going through, it's really hard to understand. Why do I have to give this? Why do I have to provide
exactly.
that?
It's like it's too much. I get that a lot. It's like it's too much. It's too overwhelming. I generally try to break things down in bite size.
What are the challenges for someone going through a divorce?
It depends, because it also, if there's children involved, that adds a layer of complexity. That especially when one parent wants to utilize the children to try to control the parent, and of course, with the type of cases that we see with domestic violence, because we know aggressors operate from a position of control, they want to then control the children to then control the victim. So that is a big challenge. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, trying to get the necessary information to do an equitable distribution of assets, or maybe even calculation of alimony. Those are very big challenges. So a lot of times the victims specifically, they don't have access to that information. So it's very hard to get that from them. And you have to be sometimes creative. And I mean, it's all kinds of things that you have to do just to make sure that you get that information. So it can be quite challenging.
When we meet with someone, sometimes the case has already been filed, they're representing themselves. And that's a real challenge for people in the state of Florida, especially if there's an attorney on the other side.
Yes.
What are kind of the differences that an attorney can bring to a case when they get hired?
Having an attorney definitely provides a layer of relief, as far as like mental relief and confidence, so you can move forward and try to plan the next step of your life.
In recent years, there's been some shifts in law related to family law. One of those changes was affecting the paternity statute, whereas there used to be a different standard to establish paternity, and now there's kind of a slightly different standard. Can you explain what that change really was and how it's affected our clients?
The biggest change, I would say, is the fact that before it's more on the guardianship side of things, where it used to be that the mother was the natural parent of a child born out of wedlock, and that was it. And then the father would have to go ahead and establish the paternity in order to be able to get rights. Now, a certain component of that hasn't changed, but for example, birth certificate before didn't used to be something that would be considered necessarily establishing paternity, right? Now it is, right? And so now the mom and the dad are natural guardians of this child if they've signed the birth certificate. That doesn't mean that just because they signed the birth certificate that automatically they get rights to see the children. They still have to go through the process. But I think that right there has changed the dynamics of how people, what women have to do. Because before, I would advise a client, don't file anything, let him file. Now, depending on the circumstances, I may have to say, you may have to file something. So that is a change,
Going to just time sharing generally, which is obviously an element of both paternity and dissolution of marriage cases. What have been the recent changes in time sharing?
That is the change that occurred in 2023, July of 2023 was a big one. Before, there was no presumption of equal time sharing. So basically, the judge would just take the case, look at it. We would go through the best interest of the child factors and determine whether or not a parent would have majority, minority, or equal, or none, right? Now, the presumption is equal time sharing. That's written and spelled out in the statute. So that means that the court will start with that premise. You both get 50-50. If you're claiming that he should have less, or she should have less, or whatever the case may be, then it's going to be your burden to prove why this should be the case. And of course, you still have to go through the factors, but that presumption, especially with cases where there's domestic violence involved, I think it affects children and in ways that somebody is not foreseen.
What is the role of children in a dissolution of marriage or paternity case?
The role is actually almost, in my opinion, it's almost none. In some cases, their testimony can be taken into consideration. For context, you can only have a minor child, testify if you have an order from the court authorizing for that to happen. And those are very hard to get.
Judges, as you were just alluding to, tend to be very wary of the children learning anything about the case, and often warn parents against saying anything to the children. We as attorneys have to deal with this as well, as we have to warn our clients how to navigate those kind of issues when kids ask questions. So how do we do that? How do we tell these parents you can't talk about these adult issues with the children?
I mean, as simple as that. I like context. I'm a context person. I think communication is key. I think how you portray that information, the importance of why you portray that information, it's of utmost importance, and it should happen in every single instance there's children. I agree, the children shouldn't have to be involved.
And judges may be more willing to hear from the kids if they are older, if they're teenagers.
That is true. They would. Obviously, the age of the child and the maturity of the child. You may have a 13-year-old that acts like an 8-year-old, and you may have an 8-year-old that acts like a 14-year-old, and have a better comprehension and understanding of what's happening and how aware they are of their circumstances. So, everything's taken on a case-by-case basis.
So that preference of the child is one of a series of factors that us as attorneys call the best interest factors of the children.
Correct.
That are at issue in any kind of case involving time sharing of a kid. What are the other types of factors? You definitely don't need to list them all, but what are the other ones that we focus on?
We have the ability of the parents to establish a relationship with the other parent and the children. We have the circumstances of the relationship between the parents. There's a lot.
I think the important thing is, right, like it's different in every case which one's going to be more or less important.
You still have to go through all of them.
Yeah.
When you're in a trial and this is an issue, you have to still go through them and address whether or not this is relevant or not, because of course not all the factors may apply for every case, but you still have to go through every single factor.
What are you supposed to do when the world is crashing down on you?
We have options, and we can help.
Protecting families, their health and livelihoods, all at no cost. Community Legal Services, legal access for all.
All right, are you ready for the lightning round?
Sure, bring it on.
First question, what is your favorite movie?
My favorite movie is The Green Mile.
After we get past favorite movie, we have to get more specific. Favorite legal movie?
My Cousin Vinny.
Okay.
My all-time favorite.
I think it's definitely the winner in the CLS Clubhouse right now.
No, yeah, I mean, it's just an amazing movie. It's funny, it's witty, it's, the actors are great.
Do you have a favorite celebrity of any kind?
To me, when a question is asked about favorite somebody, it has to be meaningful. Yeah. And I don't honestly have anybody like that.
Let's shift gears to some musical questions. So, who is your favorite musical artist of all time?
It would probably be Bruce Hornsby and The Range. The music is not, because I like rock, and like my favorite rock band is Aerosmith. But I could never listen to Aerosmith for the rest of my life every single day, because then I would go insane. So, I would probably choose somebody like Bruce Hornsby, who is like meaningful, has nice music, although some is upbeat, other is not. It's just, I love it.
So, I think you're the first person I asked this question of. Build for me your dream concert. Any 3 artists that you want, who would it be?
Okay, so I love Journey because of his voice. Don Henley, I love Don Henley, and the Eagles music, and Sting. Like I would definitely, those 3, Steve Perry, Don Henley, and staying would probably be like my ultimate.
Yeah, classic rock vibes.
Yes, I am.
coming.
My
Yeah.
daughters are always saying, "Mom, you're like stuck in the '80s or something." You know, what can I say? I mean, those were my growing years were in the '80s. Like it's
What's your dream vacation? One that you haven't done yet.
one that I haven't done. I would love to go to the Maldives,
Okay.
and I'm a beach girl. Reason why I stay in Florida actually, because
I was gonna say, and you live in the center of the state.
yes, I know, but you know, I'm also smart enough to know that the hurricanes here, they're gonna, you know, I'm not gonna pay the insurance over there. So, so yes, I love the beaches on the Gulf Coast, and so you know, anything that has a beach and it's just, you know, I love it.
And so you've lived in Osceola County for a little bit of time now. What is your favorite thing about living in Osceola County? Is there a place that you love to go to, or is there an activity that you like to do here?
You know, I always feel like Florida looks the same in many, you know, a lot of places you go, they kind of look the same. If I had to pick Osceola for a particular reason, I think I like the cultural diversity that's in this county. Not that that Florida is not, because Florida is very culturally diverse, but Osceola is like it's almost like little Puerto Rico / little Venezuela. So, you know, I like the cultural diversity. I like to be able to understand both the American culture and the Hispanic culture. And so and as far as doing things, I like taking my electric bike and just riding around. I love that. It's fun.
What is the biggest challenge that your team, who does family law for Community Legal Services, what is the biggest challenge that your team faces in delivering for clients?
I think the biggest challenge is not having enough people to actually assist with extended representation in cases. There's only so much we can do. There's only so many cases we can take. And of course, having to explain that to clients, sometimes it can be a little difficult because you want to, I personally empathize with their needs and what they're going through, but realistically, we can't take every single case. So definitely not having enough people to actually be able to do the work.
Yeah, unfortunately, turning down services when we have to do it is really painful.
True.
What is your favorite thing about being a legal aid attorney?
I think it's perfect for me personally, because I feel like I'm actually making a difference. And at the same time, be able to have a life. You're an attorney, you know how difficult it can be. In the very beginning, when I started as an attorney, it was hard to shut off my brain. It's harder to do that when you're working in a private practice. So now I've come to the point that not only because of experience, but also because I've learned about myself, you know, having to find that balance between making a difference and also having that personal life, I think it's a great advantage.
So final question, what motivated you to do this work? We've talked about your journey, you know, working here, coming back. What continues to motivate you every day to do this particular work for these clients?
I would like to think that in a world where everything's unbalanced, that I'm helping at least a few people gain that balance, even if on a personal level. And if I can feel that at least a few people have been helped, then it's all worth it. It's crazy. It's a crazy world we live in these days. So if I can feel that I have done some positive, then that's a good enough motivation to keep going.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Hey everybody, John Martino here, Director of Litigation for Community Legal Services. I'm here at Susanna's Cafe in beautiful Osceola County to invite you to our 60th anniversary event at Osceola Heritage Park on March 14th. I hope to see you there. Thank you to Aurea for agreeing to be interviewed and for all the amazing work you do for our clients. Next month we head west to explore Citrus County. Thank you for watching.
Facing eviction, at risk of foreclosure, or facing other housing issues? Know your rights. Community Legal Services is a nonprofit organization that believes in legal access for all. Visit legalaccessforall.org to learn more. Know your rights before the next disaster strikes. At Community Legal Services, we help hurricane victims by providing no-cost legal services for housing, insurance disputes, debt collection, foreclosures, and more. Be prepared. Visit legalaccessforall.org to learn more.